Thank you, Speaker. I rise in support of the 24-hour economy legislation amendment Vibrancy Reforms Bill 2025. And as others have mentioned, obviously this is the third tranche of a number of reforms that have happened even prior to my time in this place to ensure that we have a vibrant nighttime economy, and particularly as a result of the lockout laws of many years ago, we've seen in Sydney the diminishment of that nighttime economy, but also, and going to previous tranche reforms, also especially for my electorate of Pittwater, the result of one or two people making noise complaints and having the ability to shut down restaurants and live music venues as well. So I rise today in support of these reforms, and particularly just to talk about a few of the specific reforms contained within this legislation, as others have done as well. So the changes here will continue to incentivise live music venues, extended trading hours and other incentives, and particularly being able to have more flexibility around what defines a live music venue. So instead of the two, and I'm talking now in metropolitan areas rather than regional areas, but instead of the requirement for performances twice a week, that's now 10 per month. Acknowledging that is slightly more, but also allowing a person who has a venue to be able to manage their schedule and performance schedule with a bit more flexibility. That's going to be very welcome. So I want to acknowledge in my electorate Ben, who's got the Mona Vale Hotel, who's doing incredible work in bringing more vitality and more bands coming to the Northern Beaches, and other venues like the Mona Vale Hotel as well. And also to point out the safety aspects of allowing a licensed venue and giving that licensee a discretion to determine how best to deal with someone who is intoxicated without requiring the licensee to have them thrown out, acknowledging, as others have, the considerable safety concerns, particularly for females who may be in a vulnerable situation. Also welcoming the relaxation around being able to provide alcohol, particularly in relation to when you can eat and drink outside, and that is also welcome. I wanted to reflect also on the amazing contribution bands have had to Australia from Pittwater. We have had so many bands from the Northern Beaches, and speaking with some of them, particularly my friends who are Lime Cordiale, when talking to them about how their pathway to become a famous international band started, it was all about, yes, you know, your local garage band, as other members have spoken about their children having, but also having those venues within their local area that they were able to perform at, even maybe at an underage age, and then obviously when they're 18, going to other different venues as well. And it's that variety of venues that we need to be able to support in every area of New South Wales, particularly metropolitan areas, and areas like mine, which are on the edge of Greater Sydney, but still have a need for this vibrancy, even though we are somewhat of a quieter electorate than other areas of Sydney. So from the Northern Beaches, from Pittwater in particular, Lime Cordiale, Angus and Julia Stone, the Rions, and then recently, as a result probably of these vibrancy laws, although I can't say specifically it was, we had Club Palm Beach hold a Clash of the Bands event, which went over a number of weeks, which was all about supporting local talent, local bands, and with a huge $10,000 prize, which really incentivised them. And it was absolutely epic. I won't say everything that went on there in case it is breaking some law, but we had kids there, it was at Club Palm Beach, we had kids there, we had teenagers, we had all age groups, absolutely having an amazing time. And I know I just wanted to call out Kieran Prenter as well for leading that, and I know he's actually looking for a new venue to do similar things. So having these reforms and the support of these reforms to be able to embrace live music is really, really important. And I know a Surf Life Saving Club on the weekend hosted Gaza Band, and some of you may have heard that e-bike song that they're famous for, which are another young band coming up the ranks. So wanted to acknowledge that I think these reforms, and even the whole culture of where these reforms are going, are really bringing us back not only from lockdown laws, but also from what has happened in my electorate, as I mentioned earlier, which is single people making single noise complaints and being able to close down venues. And I wanted to highlight a few of those venues that have closed down because of single or one or two people making noise complaints, and others that have struggled as a result of it. But particularly wanted to call out the Narrabeen RSL Club, which is no longer. It got demolished only a few weeks ago or a few months ago. Yes, very sad. And it was known as the hub for live music. It was the place to go back in the day. And I found an old newspaper article just to reflect on this. And actually, the beginning of the article said it's been 4 years, this is 2019, 4 years since the lockout laws were first introduced by the New South Wales government, and how has this affected Sydney's nightlife? Then it launches into a very local story in Pittwater. It was first reported by the Manly Daily, and talks about the Narrabeen RSL club and the sign that became a little bit insta-famous that they put on the door, which read, and I won't read the whole sign, but saying, due to a single formal residential complaint and state government regulations, we are now forced to have all amplified music inside only. This ruling has the potential to stop our patrons sitting outside and enjoying the space that has been Narrabeen RSL for almost 65 years. We will endeavour to fight with everything we've got. We hope to return to great times. Now, unfortunately, they didn't return to great times. I can't speak as to why maybe the financial the financial position of the RSL sub-branch required them to sell, but this was a huge thing at the time and they never recovered from it. Claire Ginty, and I'll just quote her from that time, who was the bartender at the RSL, said, "Pay attention, New South Wales. Your public spaces as well as venues that support art and culture are disappearing before your eyes. Stand up, fight it." Now, I'm pleased to say that Claire runs all the live music at Avalon RSL now, and she does such a phenomenal job and gets so many great bands up. But those words at that time were very poignant and obviously have led to venues closing, such as Narrabeen RSL. I wanted to also reflect quickly, and I know it's not contained within this particular bill, but is part of the broader reforms, and that is the single noise complaints that have happened that were recently reported as well up in Palm Beach. So there was a complaint against the Joey, and when it was considered by council as to whether to extend their trading hours, I think 132 people were supportive of that, 7 weren't, and then subsequent noise complaints caused them real issues. I believe it to be the same person who complained about that had been effective in closing down Cranky Fins, which was an awesome restaurant that was on the corner in Palm Beach near the Palm Beach Golf Club, and because of noise complaints again, they said they weren't going to renew their lease. And I've spoken to the owner of Cranky Fins, now owns some great venues in Sydney, so has moved on. And then that same venue became a restaurant called Casa. And again, it was just a restaurant and a homeware shop, but again got a noise complaint that was able to lead them to the decision that it wasn't worth renewing that lease. So we in the Northern Beaches and in Pittwater are very supportive of these vibrancy reforms, and I really look forward to the next generation of bands, young people, old people coming together to enjoy the nighttime economy. And a special call out that one business chamber in my group has received a grant for under the Uptown Grant Program, and will be holding the Deep North Festival in December over 3 days, where more talent will be on display and we'll get to enjoy the nighttime economy then. So I commend the bill to the House.